Hello and welcome back to another video today here again on Forza Horizon 5 for another Event Lab showcase video of one of the tracks that I've edited recently. So today I'm going to be going back to my first route that I created about 6 months ago when this game came out, before a lot of improvements were made to Events Lab, and trying to improve it to make it more like a track that I would build now, basically. So first of all, I'm going to show you the original blueprint, and then the two versions of the blueprint that I've shared now that I've edited it with some of the new features and props and things that we can now add to our routes. Also, if you quite like this purple colour on my DBX, I'll put the share code for this livery somewhere. But anyway, that's out of the way. Let's get started with the original route before we move on to the new and improved ones. So this is what the track looked like before I made these changes, as it was built about 6 months ago now. Many props have been added to the toolset since then, and I'm more aware of sticky out and solid walls, and the aim here is to make the circuit more raceable, as well as improving it aesthetically at the same time. So yeah, I have learnt a lot about checkpoint and prop placement from making other tracks over the last 6 months or so since the game came out, this one being made pretty much straight after the game launched. It was a decent route, but the props and things like that weren't in the best places, nor were the checkpoints really. So I've added more walling and barriers to prevent you hitting bridges and such, and to stop you falling in the river and things like that, which would be quite annoying if you're racing. I've straightened out the walls so there's less chance of hitting them awkwardly, because if it sticks out slightly on Forza and you sort of scrape it, it pulls you in and you sort of get glued to it. So you'll notice most of the walls in the updated version and the fences are in fact completely straight to prevent getting Forza physicked in any way at all, on any walls really. As well as that, I've placed walls slightly behind the preceding one, so on a straight line each wall's slightly further back than the one before, meaning nothing should clip your car as you drive past, even if you're scraping along the wall, theoretically. I'm not sure that's entirely fixed it, but that certainly helps. I'm hoping some of these things I've discovered as well are useful tips for you guys if you're trying to build some of your routes. And another thing I've done is put more destructible tyres in front of some of the solid objects, so it's not the end of the world if you brush them slightly. You don't get completely stopped dead in your tracks and destroy your entire race. I've also done I've done this quite a lot recently on a lot of blueprints, putting destructible props on the inside of corners to prevent you cutting the corner. So it means you hit them and get slowed down slightly, but it's not a solid object, so again it doesn't stop you dead and ruin your race instantly. So that's kind of what I've aimed to do with those. So on to the completed routes and blueprints now that I've finished making a few edits and changes to this route. I did want to improve it and make it look better whilst retaining some of the feel of the original route I'd created, because I did quite like that one. There was just a few issues I had with prop placement, checkpoints, and the look of the thing. Some things weren't snapped, well, snapping's not a thing, but some things I hadn't put together very well because it was the first thing I built in Event Lab. You'll notice several areas are quite prop dense, particularly the start line, the back straight, the bit sort of through the dry riverbed at the far side of the circuit, and some of the tight corners which obviously require barriers so you don't drive a million miles off route if you get it slightly wrong. I've taken out several props that I kept hitting that would otherwise have proven irritating, and I've also placed more walls and tyre barriers, making sure only destructible props are sort of near the racing line or near the tarmac, or at least so that they're in front of anything solid that you might otherwise hit, to kind of make sure you are protected from being stopped entirely. I've actually made two blueprints, as I often do. They're both 3-lap blueprints, one for afternoon and one for night time. Only 3 laps, as it's about a minute and a half in mid-A class that I was running it in. I will potentially share some with more laps at some point going forward, but these two codes that are on screen now are for the two 3-lap blueprints that I've made at the moment and shared for you guys to try out. Both are set to clear weather with fixed time progression and will have up to 11 AI. They're also set to anything goes in any class, so you can try them in any car you'd like to. I like to keep them quite open so that well, for myself driving them in future as well. I don't have to test drive and share them again, so they are available for you to drive in whatever you like. One thing I find particularly helpful of being able to edit is not necessarily going back later that I've done with this track, but being able to test your route. So what I've not actually done so far, but I think I should do going forward, is basically go around, place the checkpoints, then drive the route to figure out where I do need to put walls before I start placing any props. So I think that's what I'm going to do going forward. Obviously I couldn't do that here because I was editing an existing route, and I don't want to just delete all the props and start again. Some of them, actually not many of them in the end, stayed where they were originally. But the advantage is you can test drive it, and when you think you've finished the props as well, you can test it again and just find if there's any props that are sticking out that you might hit, for example, or you can put a destructible one in front to kind of protect you a bit, or if there's any corners that look like they're easily cuttable, you can go in and sort of, well, either replace the checkpoints again, or just put something on the inside of the corner there to prevent people cutting the corner, basically. So there we go, that is going to be all for a first look at the two new and improved versions of my first ever Event Lab track here on Forza Horizon 5. Do let me know any feedback you have for my route, whether you like it or you don't like it, anything you think I should be changing or improving in any future routes I build, and what style of routes you might like me to build. More tarmac ones like that, maybe some rally ones, maybe some off the ground ones with the platform. Might have another go at one of those at some point. Let me know what you think, what you might like me to build, and which bits you'd like me to potentially build differently going forwards. And also, if you have any blueprints you've made that you'd like me to take a look at in future Event Lab videos, there's a link to my Discord in the description, so go and join that and head over to the custom track submission page. You can send your routes and creations in there, and once there's 2 or 3 good ones that I've tried out and I like, I will potentially put them together into a video to showcase some of your tracks. But for now, for today's video, that is going to be all. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next video very soon.